Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
What is going on? How y'all doing on this early Sunday afternoon? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and as you know, I'm so far just wearing my SmackDown shirt. Boom. And I haven't put on the rest of my gear yet, because of course I'm going to be changing things up a little bit. There's a couple little things I felt like acknowledging based off of what I have equipped in my closet. But at least to start off with one. Do not always forget, for I am the man himself. Of course, put on my scarf, put that in. Well, it's not really a scarf, it's a... it was something I had around my waist when I graduated high school. But anyways, there'll be other things two other things that will be making an appearance in this review. But this is my review of this past Friday night's episode of SmackDown, the November 17th, 2023 edition, and it took place in Evansville, Indiana. This will be the last SmackDown review until after Survivor Series. Again, this coming week, because of the holidays, and again, I have my parents, and I have my in-laws, Thanksgivings to all prepare for. I am just going to do just the Survivor Series preview, probably Wednesday, I would say. And then, well, I'm not sure if I'll even do it then. I'm not sure when I'll do it. I'll do it sometime, my preview this week. But I'm just going to be so busy. So since it's a pay-per-view week, I'm just going to do the preview for the pay-per-view. And maybe a couple of odds and ends and stuff we're working on behind the scenes also. So no Raw or SmackDown reviews this coming week. But this will be the last one until Survivor Series. This show took place again in Evansville, Indiana, and look, there's a couple things on SmackDown that I'm just not into. Like, I've definitely gotten more and more. I'm less and less interested in what's going on with Jimmy Uso. I really am. Couple other little things that really happened, like Grayson Waller and Cameron Grimes had a match on the show. I love Cameron Grimes, but I still don't care for Grayson Waller that much. Other than his little like movement there, like, okay, that's cool. But other than that, it's just like him and Austin Theory. Like, I get why they're together, but I'm not digging them either as a thing. And a couple other things, but there was some good things. Well, there was a couple questionable things that happened on this show. One kind of got addressed. The other one hasn't yet. It's that whole consistency thing that I do kind of hope they touch on this coming week on Raw and SmackDown. Raw or SmackDown, one of the two. But there were some really good things. Like that match with Dragon Lee and Axiom. Holy smokes, that was awesome. Dragon Lee is easily, the past several weeks, have probably been putting on the best match on SmackDown. I mean, like, you know, there's some other good material going on, but as far as, like, wrestling-wise, Dragon Lee's been stealing the show. With Cedric Alexander, twice, and this week, Axiom. So, they were so good. I was leaning towards giving it a slight bit better of a grade that I gave Raw, but I'm probably going to be giving it the same grade I gave Raw. You know, like a slight bit better. It's like, one was an 80... There was like an 82. Not quite enough for a B, but more of a B minus, but like a higher B minus, if you want to put it that way. I don't know. We'll see how I feel by the end of the show and see, you know, what I feel. But we're going to get started here, and we're going to get rolling. The show opened up. I have an ad on my screen. Get that out of my face. The show opened up also, which we were reminded that because Corey Graves is still away from Carmel giving birth to their child, which, again, congratulations. And Kevin Owens got suspended last week because of him getting involved. Guess who was on commentary this week? Mr. Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better block somebody on Twitter! Yeah, Road Dogg. I probably mentioned this how many times, but I have soured on Road Dogg throughout the years. Like, first off, with his bad booking, when he was the head writer for SmackDown in 2017, Jinder Mahal as world champion for, 6 months? All I know was torture other things. And, of course, people would give him crap on Twitter. He would block them, which I get why. But I guess that's what always bothers me about Road Dogg, is that he just seems like the guy that just says the stupidest things to get people talking. And, he made some comment about Bret Hart and how he was only good because of this. And, after a couple other comments he made, he made some comments, towards fans and whatnot. I just think the guy just, I mean, is he good at, being like a promo coach or a trainer or stuff basically besides being a head writer? Yes. But, he's made some very, questionable comments about things throughout the years. And I don't know, again, I've just soured on him. So when I saw he was on commentary, I was kind of ugh. But it was whatever. I don't even pay attention to commentary half the time anyways, unless it's Mar Ronaldo or someone who I know that's electrifying on commentary. I'm not saying that Michael Cole's bad, which again, Michael Cole, I've agreed, deserves a lot more credit than he gets. And then there's Kevin Patrick, who he tries, but he's just still nothing that special. But yeah, Road Dogg was on commentary tonight. So we started off with Damage Control coming out. Asuka is out there, of course, but apparently Asuka has not officially joined. And Bayley put Asuka joining over as a top moment in history and says the new and improved Damage Control is the strongest faction in WWE. Playing chess while the rest of you idiots playing Candyland. I kind of want to play Candyland again now. Charlotte, Bianca, and Shotzi weren't ready for Asuka. Asuka and Io and Kairi start chatting in Japanese, and Bayley's like, wait, what's going on? And Dakota's like, oh, Asuka's saying that she ain't in Damage Control yet because somebody in the ring isn't part of Damage... Asuka's saying this isn't Damage Control yet because somebody in the ring isn't part of Damage Control yet. And Bayley panics thinking she's about to get kicked out. Which, honestly, does anyone remember the Seinfeld episode whenever those... was it Chinese or Japanese ladies were talking in their own language, and they were, Elaine didn't know, but they were making fun of her, but she thought that they were laughing with her, basically. It's kind of like one of that moment where eventually, they'll somehow get exposed. Well, I'm sure Frank Costanza, I'm sorry, they were Korean because she had to get Frank Costanza's help to come in and understand what they were saying. And, of course, he basically busted them, and Elaine got kicked out of it was like a nail salon or something like that. But that's probably what's going to happen with Bayley. Damage Control is going to be... You think that they're saying good things about them, when in reality is they're probably talking trash that have a plan to kick out Bayley. But again, also I still wonder, where does Dakota Kai's Legion slide? Based on how she, spoke for them, she's probably going to stick with Io's team, maybe. Who knows? But she still ain't cleared to wrestle. But anyways... Dakota explains that Asuka feels she's not officially a part of it yet, and it's Bayley's job to induct her. And Bayley basically gets on one knee as she's proposing and holds out a Damage Control shirt and says, will you join? And Asuka just takes the shirt and she's in. So they're official basically for War Games, of course. I guess that's going to be, I'm guessing 4-on-4, or they are going to do 5-on-5, but it looks like it's going to be 4-on-4, which of course is weird. Even if the men's side, if it's still 4-on-4, it's weird, especially since you got Drew involved now. But we'll see, of course, where it goes from it. If they make that one 5 or whatnot. But anyway, so Asuka takes the shirt, and Shotzi Blackheart then comes out and attacks Damage Control, and then Bianca and Charlotte come make the save as well. But, of course, the numbers game got to them, and Damage Control stood tall. Back afterwards, after commercial, Shotzi talks about how she wants to kick Damage Control's butts, but Bianca steers them towards finding the 4th member. and she thinks Charlotte knows somebody that fits the bill. And then Nick Aldis rolls up and says, I want you to have that fourth member for your team by the end of the night. Like, what's the rush? We got one more week, okay, but whatever. We had a triple threat match for the number one contendership for the tag titles. The Brawlin' Brutes, Butch, and Ridge Holland taking on Pretty Deadlies, Elton Prince and Kit Wilson. Still not a big fan of them. And the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. The match was fine. Again, I'm getting sick of seeing the Brawlin' Brutes and Pretty Deadly fight each other like every single week. But the Street Profits, they made a little bit of difference. Luckily, Street Profits would win. Next week, they're going to take on Judgment Day for the tag titles. Maybe Street Profits could win them. Who knows? Probably not. Afterwards, though, also, well, first during the match, we did see B-Fab rolling up, chatting with Bobby Lashley again. And then also after the match, it looks like Ridge Holland walked out on Butch in the ring. So is that a sign of the breakup of the Brawlin' Brutes? Or maybe we'll finally get Butch being called Pete Dunne again. Please give him back that name. Please! Anyways. But yeah, Street Profits win the match. Maybe they'll throw Judgment. I kind of hope they do, but I feel like they kind of won't, since they don't want to have them lose and go into War Games with a loss behind them. I don't know. Who knows? They've lost how many matches anyways? The Judgment Day. We had seen Bianca Belair chatting with Mia Yim backstage, and after commercial, they beat down Mia Yim. Damage Control beat down Mia Yim, because obviously Bianca was recruiting her to be their partner. Which Mia does have war game experience, which would have been awesome to see her in a match, but I guess she's not. Then we have Dragon Lee coming out. And we have a backstage segment showing footage from earlier of him asking Nick Aldis for a match against Santos Escobar. But instead, Nick Aldis gave him NXT's Axiom, formerly A-Kid in NXT UK, to show what Lucha Libre is all about. And boy, they did this match with Dragon Lee and Axiom. First, Axiom's entrance is actually pretty cool. They have like the blur effect on his like movements and whatnot. I think it is pretty awesome. Again, if you thought Dragon Lee and Cedric was good, this was even better. So many great spots, great counters, Spanish flies. Again, another match that could have been a pay-per-view quality match. We're showcasing Dragon Lee having these like matches against like guys who aren't getting the opportunities yet. And not only is he killing it, but the guy he's wrestling with is killing it too. So two people are basically getting over when they wrestle Dragon Lee. Now, why he's not really a part of the feud with the LWO yet, I'm not sure why. He thought he would be, especially when they teased him and Ray doing something, whatever. I think it was he was trying to get over the barricade when they attacked Santos or Ray a few months ago during the whole U.S. title thing. But whatever. But still, they're putting on excellent matches. Dragon Lee though does win with Operation Dragon, as he calls it, and we'll see who he fights next. Get him a pay-per-view match. Well, I don't think he's going to wrestle at Survivor Series, but still, at some point, get this man a pay-per-view match. Because if he's doing awesome on just live TV, imagine what he would do on pay-per-view. But we'll, of course, have to wait and see. Then we have Santos Escobar come out. He came out to Legado del Fantasma's entrance music. And, of course, the crowd is giving him heat. And he starts talking about the whole popular phrase, you should never meet your heroes. He comes from a rich Lucha Libre tradition, and all of his family have been labeled heroes. But to him, his hero was Rey Mysterio. He wanted to have the next generation see him the same way he saw Rey. And he was like a father to him. And made him feel at home. But after last week, he realized that Dominic was right about everything he was been saying about Rey since he turned on Rey last year. He deserves to be U.S. champion. And who won the title? He wanted to rebuild the LWO. And look who took over and brought in new members like Carlito. He switches to Spanish for a long time before complaining that Rey sided with an outsider like Carlito over him. And Rey Mysterio, who just had knee surgery, actually, is going to be out for a couple weeks, I heard. So that was kind of a way to kind of write him off. A good way to kind of also, because I even said last week, somehow extend this feud and get them to WrestleMania, which they should have a one-on-one match because it would be freaking awesome. Of course, if you want to slip in a match with him and Dragon Lee at like Chamber or something, I won't be opposed to that. But anyways, he says he knows Rey is watching from his hospital bed, and he hopes all this pain reminds him of how it felt when he betrayed him. And us, the fans, we're going to like this one more. He'll apologize for not doing more damage. From the bottom of his heart, he hopes Rey's surgery didn't go well. He hopes he gets an infection. He hopes he gets his leg amputated and never comes back, just laying it into Rey. And while this is going on, you see Zelina Vega and Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro backstage watching this like, no, don't do this. So first Zelina goes out and basically gets to the ring and jaws at him before Zelina slaps him and leaves leaves head in her hands. Then Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro come down, and you think that they're all going to stick together. Well, at the moment, that's not the case. As Escobar says, are you going to side with him over with her over him? And he says he allowed them to exist. They join him in the ring, and he wants it to be the three of them again. But Joaquin says he's out of line, and then Cruz del Toro says they can't stand for what he did to Rey. And then Escobar's like, I see. And he tells them to get out because they've been nothing to him but dead weight. And of course, as they go to leave, he tries beating them both up 2-on-1. And then Carlito comes out to make the save. And then it sets up for a match at a Survivor Series, which is a nice, it's a cool down match for Survivor Series. So it'll probably be used to after a hot match, but it's going to be an effective one for long-term storytelling. But they made a match official at Survivor Series. It will be Carlito versus Santos Escobar. Cool. And again, I do like that Rey's knee surgery is kind of like delaying this. Like I said, that's a match that has to be saved for WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. Because that's going to be awesome of a match. I always say the second match between Andrade and Rey, when Andrade was WWE. I remember it was on an episode of SmackDown. Their second match was their best one. I want to see a match like that at WrestleMania. So, awesome there. And actually, I'm sorry, I forgot to do something. You know how I said I brought a few things out? Well, when I was going to be talking about Dragon Lee, I forgot to put on my Rey Mysterio mask. Forgot to put it on. So, admire me for a second with it, because I still love Rey Mysterio, even though Santos Escobar does not. But of course, Santos, I will be real, I do think Santos is more meant to be a heel. So I think he's going to excel, of course, a lot more in his heel role. I mean, it's going to be different. I really thought we would get the rest of Legado del Fantasma back with him. Because now they're on their own, I don't know. I mean, they haven't had too many wrestling matches yet on the main roster. But the couple they had, I actually thought how it looked. I thought they looked better than what they did in NXT when I saw them wrestle in NXT. Because in NXT, I thought they were jobbers. I mean, they still kind of feel them now, but we'll see what happens. Maybe Zelina will be their manager or something, or they'll still be in the corner of Carlito, or unless they turn on Carlito at Survivor Series, I don't know. But yeah, I forgot to wear that when I talked about. I forgot to wear my Rey Mysterio mask when I talked about some Lucha Libre. Because it's still a pretty cool item that I bought when I went to Survivor Series to SummerSlam this year with my wife and nephews. But yeah, I forgot to pull that out. But there's one more thing I want to pull out in a minute here. But We got Cameron Grimes defeating losing to Grayson Waller. Didn't really care because I don't really care for Grayson Waller or Austin Theory. But he wins with a flipping kill switch dingo driver, which is what Road Dogg dubbed the move that Grayson Waller did, the dingo driver, because, you know, Grayson Waller is Australian. There are kangaroos, dingoes, whatever you want to call them, in Australia. Yeah, we'll move on. Of course, then we later see Zelina Vega, who's all emotional, chatting with Bianca Belair, showing how Bianca's trying to recruit Zelina. Well then, after commercial, Damage Control beating up Zelina. So she's out now. So really, all that's really left on SmackDown is the Hex Girls, they call them, Isla Dawn and Kaylee Ray. I'm sorry, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Now, I thought with the vignettes, if they were going to make the women's match 5-on-5, I thought they're probably going to do them since they've teased War Games, and Alba Fire's been in a War Games match before, I believe. But they weren't the ones picked. We'll get to his pick, of course, in a second. But then we have Paul Heyman in the ring with Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. We'll talk about Jimmy here in a few minutes. And basically, they're gloating over Solo's victory over John Cena. And how basically John Cena is never going to come back. And this is all because of Solo. This is probably happen here and probably all because of Solo. Heyman, of course, did another imitation, which was probably the funniest part of the promo and whatnot. But he continues to talk trash about how, you know, this happened to John Cena, all because of Solo. LA Knight comes out, and he basically talks down Heyman, saying Heyman's out here talking about cause and effect. He hasn't mentioned how good Roman Reigns has been because he's still champion because of the bloodline. Everybody knows that's a problem, and the whole world knows it's a problem, and Knight knows that's a problem, and he's got a problem solver named L.A. Knight. Yeah! What does that mean? Well, he's staying here on SmackDown because he made it that way, and he stood across the champion crown jewel because he made it that way, and the bloodline will cease to exist because he'll make it that way, and he'll take each and every one of them out until it's just him and Roman. No one else will save Roman. And the first stop is good old Jim Uso. And then Jimmy and Knight have their match. And of course, LA Knight wins. I'm sorry, again. Well, first off, as far as LA Knight and Roman having a rematch goes, I like it, but I'm also concerned doing another rematch. Because I still don't think LA Knight is going to win. Well, actually, something happened after the match I'll get to in a second. But I still don't think LA Knight is going to win. And I would hate for him to take another loss, unless, because again, I still think the long-term plan is for him to win the U.S. title from Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Like, is Logan going to return and cost him the match? Because they took out everybody else. But again, it's the same thing anymore with Roman. And that's the thing, too. How many people have been screwed over with the bloodline, but how many of them have gotten a rematch? Like, again, the inconsistencies. Like, I was telling my wife the other day how there used to be the rule that was emphasized, you have to defend the title in 30 days or you get stripped. And she goes, well, that's out the window. I'm like, exactly. But then they'll emphasize it in a storyline here and there. So, I'm not sure how I feel about Knight getting a second shot. I would, honestly, again, my question is, where's AJ? Because AJ Styles got written off TV by the bloodline. Shouldn't he be coming back soon and him being the one to challenge Roman at Rumble? That's what, I mean, again, if they do Roman at Knight, I'm not going to complain. I'm just worried if Knight loses again, it's going to hurt his momentum. Because I think he got saved. But also, too, if they do it again, wouldn't we get the same finish? Just except that, like I said, maybe this time instead of the bloodline helping out Roman, maybe it's either going to be Logan Paul, or maybe, of course, the person that needs to be emphasized for the match at WrestleMania, because the person that Well, let's get to the first point here for a second. That one I didn't mention. Afterwards, Solo Sikoa came down and beat down LA Knight with Jimmy Uso. And out of the blue, here's my other piece of merchandise. Cody Rhodes makes the save. And he comes out, but then afterwards, Nick Aldis was chatting with Cody. We saw right before the last segment of the show, basically like advising him, why are you here? You know, you shouldn't have been here. John Roy goes, I'm sorry. He says, I shouldn't have done that. But again, like I was saying, either if they do another match with LA Knight, one or two things going to happen. I think that happened. One, Logan Paul will interfere and cost Knight the match. Which not, I mean, again, I know they have a little bit of history from the build of Money in the Bank, but what else is there really going to be that, you know, what else is there going to be that really has, unless if, you know, LA Knight doesn't want, I'm sorry, unless if Logan Paul doesn't want LA Knight to be on a higher level than him, basically, and that's why he costs him the match. Or, again, as I've said months ago, the real person, again, the main reason why Cody Rhodes is not champion today is not because of Jimmy. It's not because of Solo, because he had taken care of all of them before he got to WrestleMania. And everyone was ejected from ringside except, I don't know why I'm using a flight swatter to emphasize my points here, except Paul Heyman. So if they do a rematch with Roman Reigns and LA Knight at Rumble, the person who should be responsible for Roman retaining at that show is Paul Heyman. That way we can somehow get back to Cody and Roman, which, by the way, if it's just Cody just coming over to SmackDown just because, which I did like that Nick Aldis kind of addressed him like, why are you here, basically. I like well, there's another thing that I might not like about this whole thing, but we'll talk about that in a second. But I like how they've been emphasizing the brand split again. If you're gonna have a brand split, stick to the brand split. So of course there could be questions as to, you know, for Cody going over to SmackDown like that. I still don't get how Cody was not the one traded to SmackDown with the Jey Uso swap, but whatever. So they're obviously teasing Cody getting back into the Bloodline storyline. But the other thing I want to talk about again, at this Jimmy Uso stuff, again, as I said months ago, when it first started, it's something I felt like that should be working. But every single week, I feel like it just gets worse and worse and worse, and more plot holes get exposed. What character development has he had since this heel turn? Like, he acts like he's the shit, but yet he either gets the crap beat out of him, he loses, he eats the pin for Solo. Like, he looks like a chump. Like, at this point, like, don't even bother with any more storylines with him. Just, whenever it's WrestleMania time, just do him and Jay and move on. Because he's really not doing anything for me. He's basically the J.D. McDonough of the Bloodline. He's the personal punching bag for the heel stable. That's all he is. Like, I can advertise Jimmy Uso versus LA Knight or Jimmy Uso versus AJ Styles, and I know Jimmy's gonna lose. So, like, other than him appearing on Raw and costing Jay and Cody their tag titles, like, what has he really done since becoming a heel for me to take him as a legitimate threat whenever he fights Jay at Mania? Like, honestly, the way how they had Jimmy cost them their tag titles, I would have done a match at Survivor Series with Jimmy and Jay. Or they could, when Jay and Cody were tag champs, they should have fought Jimmy and Solo. Or at least had something there, and maybe have the Bloodline win the tag titles back or something. Because, again, he's getting nothing out of this run. It's just showing, again, they probably only did this to find some way to stall the story till WrestleMania. And I again say this, Cody should have just taken the belt off Roman at SummerSlam. Like, WrestleMania, I can forgive. They needed time, because again, Cody wasn't ready yet. He was brought back. He got hurt. Maybe if he didn't get hurt, he would be okay for WrestleMania to win the title. But he got hurt, then they brought him back, and it's kind of like they just handed it to him. Like, he didn't go through all, the ups and downs like he has this year. But it's still weird because Cody's on Raw. You really don't want to see him win the Rumble. You'd rather see somebody else win the Rumble. Which, at this point, I have no clue what it is for the men. But then, again, it's like, this whole stuff with Jimmy, it's just stalling. It's just filling in time until we get back to WrestleMania season when they do want to have Cody Rhodes be the one to take the belt off Roman. Which, I can forgive last year. Because Cody wasn't ready yet. But it better be this time. Because, I'm sorry. Again, he's had a great reign, but there's nothing else left for Roman as champion. There's nothing. He's literally just... He's going against his word he said years ago. He's a part-time champion, barely defends the title, and people are just getting sick of it. Even I am too. I'm sorry. I'm glad we finally pulled the trigger in 2020 and had Roman Reigns develop a character, making him his own entity. But it's time. It's time. Like, what else is there to prove? There's no way you can get him to break Bruno Sammartino's record. Absolutely no way. So, all that's there. But anyways, so getting back to the women. The show ended revealing who the fourth partner is. And then, of course, after everyone else they try to gets beat down, Charlotte agrees to make a call. And the three of them come out. Charlotte gets on the microphone saying they're running out of time, but they accept Damage Control's War Games challenge. And as soon as she said this line, I knew exactly who she was talking about. She says, I know a thing or two about turning on a best friend, and there's a thin line between love and hate. But if she has to go to war, there's only one person she wants on her side. And as soon as she said that, I'm like, I know exactly who it is. And of course, Damage Control came out, and Bayley's like, you're bluffing, because they took everybody out trying to join their team. So they have no numbers in her phone because, well, Charlotte has no numbers in her phone because she's an idiot and a loser. So they're not going to make it to War Games or even out of the building tonight. Well, as they get on the apron, the crowd starts cheering. There's no music. Through the crowd comes Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch is the fourth member of the babyface team for Survivor Series. And they brawl to end the show. I don't hate it because, it's Becky Lynch. I love Becky. She's awesome. She has a history with Damage Control. She brings a lot of star power to War Games. My only thing, my two things though. Well, also, before we get to those two things, it's interesting seeing her and Charlotte in the ring again together. Because the last time they were in the ring together was in 2021. Well, they had a champion versus champion match at Survivor Series. But they also had that famous belt swap that basically had Charlotte going into business for herself. And it had been revealed around that time that her and Becky really weren't friends anymore. But, and obviously they seem to have heat with each other. So it is, I'm going to assume that they're like the best of friends again. But it is nice to see them, knowing that they used to be like tight, nice to see that they're able to work with each other. Since they've been separated for almost 2, almost 3 years basically. Here's my only two problems. First off, again, I feel like I love Charlotte Flair. But yes, I've seen enough of her. Not saying that she can't ever win a title again, just that I want something different. I'm worried I'm starting to feel that way about Becky, because I love Becky. I mean, I'm definitely more of a fan of Becky than Charlotte. But even I'm kind of like, can we get someone different? Because again, we know it's probably going to be Becky and Rhea at WrestleMania. Cool, but again, I'd rather see someone different. But that's still a fresh match. But I don't think I want to see Becky be the one to dethrone Rhea. Like, same here. It's like, you know, Becky's going to do awesome in War Games, but can we get somebody different? Like, I was... Like, someone else getting this opportunity. I get there really isn't anybody else that's, like... That's... developed enough, I would say. Like, I don't know, like a Cora Jade or a returning superstar who hasn't been around for years or something. I don't know. Again, I just kind of wanted someone different. And the other thing, too, is she's a Raw superstar. So, since this is a SmackDown match with all SmackDown stars, will Nick Aldis approve of this? I feel like, again, if he's addressing Cody for crashing SmackDown, he's a Raw superstar. Shouldn't they be questioning Becky? She's a Raw superstar again. And again, like I said, I don't people think I hate Becky Lynch. I love Becky Lynch. And I even like Charlotte Flair too. I'm more of a fan of Becky's than Charlotte's. But again, it's just that, can we get something different, you know? Like someone different get in this spot. I mean, we're getting a lot of different people in the match. I mean, well, Damage Control was in it last year. But we're having a different direction with them. But it's still going to be a great match. I still think probably the babyface team will win. And the long-term story is the rest of Damage Control is going to turn on Bayley. And which could happen. I think what's going to happen is I think the babyface team is going to win at War Games, and Bayley's going to take the pin, and that's where they turn on her. They can write her off until the Rumble. She returns at the Rumble, even though again the only thing is Bayley needs to develop some more sympathy. Like, I like how they had... Well, okay, they kind of did this week, too, with, you know, her not knowing what the girl said. But I still think if she's going to be a face again, she has to develop a little more sympathy. They can't do, like, what they did with Seth Rollins in 2016, where he gained all the sympathy in the world. Then when he came back from his injury, he crapped on the crowd, went full-blown heel again. And then when Triple H turned on him months ago, it's like nobody had sympathy for him right away. They only cheered because it's like, finally you made the move. So, we'll see how it goes down. Again, it's still going to be a great match. Again, Becky's a great addition. It's just, again, one, they got to keep the continuity going and address, well, she's a Raw superstar, though. So, like, basically, how is that going to work? And two, again, I just kind of wanted someone different. But, again, Becky will still be a great part of that match, for sure. But that was SmackDown. I was looking to give it a B-. Like I said, I liked it a little bit better than Raw, but I can't quite bring myself to give it a B. I'll give it a B-. So, that's my SmackDown review. Again, no Raw or SmackDown review this coming week. Just a Survivor Series preview and hopefully maybe a couple other like video game stuff. And I am working on something for December. And hopefully I do get it like ready in time. And hopefully the Thursday after Thanksgiving hopefully is when I'm going to reveal what it is. So hopefully I do get it done, and I'll give credit also to, it was a suggestion from my wife to do this. So we'll see what happens. Because I still also do want to get back into, I've only done one map of my next Wolfenstein Let's Play. I want to do a few more before I start uploading them. It's a shorter mod, but I still want to upload them in certain groups. I still want to get back into Roller Coaster Tycoon because I really want to keep moving on that. I got 12 parts of that done. But other things, of course, come as well on the channel of the man, as always. So, guys, that's my thoughts on SmackDown this week. Gave it a B-. What are your guys' thoughts on SmackDown? What are your guys' thoughts on Cody Rhodes and Becky Lynch both crashing SmackDown? Do you think, again, it should be addressed about Becky Lynch being a Raw superstar because they're trying to keep the consistency of the brand split? How else do you think also Cody Rhodes is going to find his way back into the title picture to be able to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns? What about your thoughts on Jimmy Uso that I talked about before? And LA Knight getting another shot with Roman at Rumble probably. And anything else you want to talk about. Ray, and Santos. Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. And you may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I am checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion. That is a fact of life. Yeah!